We talked about it yesterday, lightning safety.
Yep.
And making sure when you're outside, you hear thunder, you get indoors.
Right.
This is one of the tips that Brittany Van Voorhees was able to share with us. So she spoke with Miles Harris.
Yes.
I always mess up his last name, but Tony,
Yes.
a great photog Tony.
Yes.
And so Tony and Miles talked to Brittany about lightning safety. So here's their full interview. Let's take a listen in.
Lightning is always dangerous. I mean, if you get struck by lightning, there's always a higher risk that you could potentially die versus that you could potentially live. We're very thankful that the person yesterday in Iredell County was okay. But the biggest thing to remember is that it's not safe to be outside if there's lightning in general. The difference between storm and rain is essentially thunder and lightning. So anytime that you see it or hear it, there's a chance you could be struck. Because if you see it or hear it, that means you're close enough to be struck. I think back when we were kids, you know, there was the whole count to whatever and then divide by 5, that's how far away it is. They've done studies over time that have realized that lightning can normally strike about 10 to 20 miles per hour from the center of a storm. Brad was talking about this last night, but there was actually a study in Oklahoma that there was a storm that there was lightning that struck more than 100 miles from the parent thunderstorm. So that means that it could be storming in Davidson, you could live in Pineville, and that doesn't mean that you're safe from a lightning strike. So in general, you see lightning, you hear thunder. When thunder roars, move indoors.
Is there any truth to the thing about, like, what was it, like the 10-minute count off or 20-minute count off?
No.
From the time you hear thunder?
I mean, that's the distance it is away from you.
Sure.
That is, I mean, mathematically, mostly correct. But the reality is that you're still close enough struck by lightning.
Yeah. We hear a lot about conflicting advice on what to do if you're caught outside with no shelter. What would be your guidance on this?
If you're caught outside with absolutely no shelter, you're just trying to get away from any tall objects. There is a myth that lightning is attracted to metal, something like, you know, like a cell tower or something. That is not necessarily true. Lightning is attracted to the highest object, but metal just so happens to be a conductor of electricity. So it's worse, for example, if you're underneath, you know, a light, you know, cell phone tower versus like a tree. You still don't want to be near any of those things, but you're trying to get away from the tallest object and away from anything like that that could conduct electricity. I hear this a lot with like myths of people being out on the boat. Technically, your metal boat is not attracting the lightning, but let's say you have like a flag that's really tall or something like that. That could attract versus like a regular tree.
So it's the highest point?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's trying to find the easiest thing to get to, right?
Yep. Many people think they're safe once they get indoors, but what lightning safety precautions should you take inside your home during storms?
Brad and I were talking about this last night. Grandma was right. You probably should not take a shower or take a bath or do anything where you're submerging yourself in water, because if a lightning strike were to strike your house, there is a chance that water could conduct the electricity and hurt you. I also think it's a good idea to unplug anything electronic. For example, your laptop. If you still want to watch, you know, Netflix or WCNC Plus or whatever on your laptop, it's safer to have it not plugged into the wall, because that can also conduct electricity. So just staying away from anything like that, electronics, water. Also remembering that being on your front porch does not mean you're safe. My dad loves to do this thing where he stands out on the lanai when there's Florida, you know, storms in Florida afternoon, and I'm like, you're not inside, you're not safe. So just remember, you need to be fully, technically you're never fully safe inside, but you need to be fully inside to have that porch, lanai. That is not sufficient as to trying to keep yourself safe.
What are some common mistakes you see that put people at risk?
Just being outside when there's thunder and lightning.
Yeah.
That's probably the most common thing.
Yeah.
I think also too, I totally understand wanting, like as a parent, I don't have kids, but I have nieces and nephews, like wanting them to be able to go out and play, but you also need to make sure they're educated as well, because I remember as a kid, you know, like we'd run around the neighborhood, you know, for hours and hours, so they also need to be educated to make that decision for themselves to come back, because, you know, if your 7-year-old doesn't have a cell phone, like they need to know to come back versus you trying to go out and find them, because now you guys are both at risk.
Yeah. So if you hear it, see it,
yeah,
witness it.
We always say when thunder roars and move indoors, but I like to also say hear it or see it, because I think it's easy to remember hearing thunder, seeing lightning.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add about safety and awareness?
I think that sometimes when there's not a risk for tornadoes, like that, it's cool, it's sexy, people can see it, you know, whatever, it's something you can visually see. We almost like forget that some of the biggest risks that we have here in the Carolinas are gusty winds, and then of course lightning strikes. Sure. We're not the lightning strike capital necessarily of the United States, but in the South generally at this time of year we have more thunderstorm potential than somewhere like the Pacific Northwest. So You're going to be outside. You're going to have a lot of outdoor activities. It's that time of the year, so take those precautions to protect you and your family. I think there's never enough precautions that you can take. Lightning strikes are rare, but you could be the one.
All right, some good advice there by our own meteorologist, Brittany Van Voorhees. All right.